Okay, a minute or two late, but better late than never. It's the Fresh Set of Downs podcast. My name is Bruce Badgley. Alongside me, as usual, my good buddy Dave Mika from EasternPFootball.com. And Dave, why don't you introduce our very special guest that we've got tonight?
Yeah, we got Bonner's head coach, Jack Muldoon. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank
Thank
you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
So
Jack,
you
I tell you what,
go ahead.
just a fantastic win here this last week. But you've had, a pretty special season so far. Talk about, your season and how it's kind of crescendoed, now with the victory over Roman Catholic.
Yeah, so we came in with some expectations, but we really weren't sure because of the kind of schedule we were playing, and we had a couple uh, unfortunate open dates because the teams, kind of things not working out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we got a little creative. We went down and played Smyrna, a very good team down in Delaware.
Hmm.
We had a good hit with them.
Playing,
Came out
had
of
a
the
couple.
and came out of the box with two of our 4A games against Archbishop Wood and Ryan. Did pretty well there. And then our next game after bye week which was with Haverford School, which is
Hmm.
we like playing them. A great program, great, well coached, great kids, all kinds of big guys all over the place, and played well there. And I think that it got people's attention a little bit. And then last week, playing at that time, I think with 3 or 4 ranked team in the state, full of, all kinds of dudes out there, and great football game. We played well, kind of made some mistakes at the end, I think, but hung on, and it was a big win for us. I think there were a few folks that might thought that we weren't at a certain level. That was some of the talk going on beforehand, but I think we showed we can play well against some very talented and well coached teams, especially in the Catholic League. That's our first priority, is to play well in the Catholic League.
Yeah. I did see a quote in one of the articles that I'm not sure if it was directed to you, where it said, even some of the Bonner people were thinking, we don't have a chance, we could lose
Yeah.
big. And, that kind of had to motivate the kids, because I'm sure, these kids are on social media, this kind of probably fueled them in this game.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a lot more goes out out there than I even know about. And but in my mind, it was, hey, we got to show these people we belong. We've had a pretty successful program for the last, 5 years, and but we've played, at, in our, in the blue division, we played. Look, we took a team to Ireland last year and played the NFL Academy and did well.
Yeah.
So this team isn't afraid. This coaching staff, this school isn't afraid to take on challenges. So when we were, bumped up, we said, okay, this is our next big challenge. And, some people might not think that we belong, and it's our job to show them. And, through, hard work, and I have a tremendous staff, just the best staff around it. We come in, prepared, and I think we did show people, like, yeah, this team has something to show to everybody in this area this year.
Yeah, it looks like in this game your running attack was really good. Mick Johnson and
Yeah.
Frank both were over 100 yards rushing. Talk about how they did this past weekend.
Yeah, so our run game, we have a great offensive staff. Our O-line coach,
Hmm.
Rob Ford, is we take great pride in how we run the ball. I personally, that's just kind of my offensive philosophy. My feeling is, if you have the guys up front, you start with that, and we build from there. Mick Johnson is a tremendous football player, a great running back. And Salim came in last week and is really kind of getting settled, and really gave us, like 10, 11, 12 really good carries guys over 100 yards, tough carries inside the tackles. And, I thought it was a big part of the game was we were able to, I think we ran it for over 250 yards rushing. So we were able to do that. And to me, if we can do that, it's just an old, kind of, for some people may be tired, but we all think that if we can run the ball effectively, then it'll open up everything else, especially with this great group of receivers we have. We really feel like with 2 running backs we have right now, that every week we should be able to do that, to a degree.
Go ahead,
Well,
Bruce.
the word's out now. I mean, you're not going to sneak up on anybody,
Yeah.
the rest of the year, not only on your current schedule, but, as you, kind of move, into the postseason and what have you. So for you, obviously you had some trials and tribulations you talked about in your schedule, but talk a little bit about how you put your team to peak at the right time of year in the postseason.
Yeah, so we our schedule, like anything, any football team, is they live and die by routine. And I think the bye week, when we in between the Wood game and the Haverford School game, we weren't happy about it. We kind of used it as an opportunity to kind of go back to camp almost a little bit, freshen some guys up in some ways, and really prepare ourselves for week to week to week. Like kind of look ahead a little bit and say, okay, this team has this. Let's do a little kind of post scouting past Haverford School, which obviously we didn't overlook, but we said, okay, let's see what everybody has. So at this point now, we try to make sure that our guys are ready to play Friday nights, and and now it's going to be a week to week thing. We got to go out and play Judge, and then after that it's LaSalle, and then we have our big rivalry with O'Hara, and then we got the prep sitting there at the end of the year, a week before we open up the playoffs. So we have to be very vigilant in making sure that our preparation is the same as it always has been. But now that people have kind of noticed this, we have to understand it, that we're not going to that nobody's going to hand anything to us. Nobody's going to overlook us. So our preparation has to stay the same, but our team has to mature. We have to play with poise. We have to accept that next, kind of expectation level that's starting to happen.
But then, I mean, you talked about the fact, you got a killer schedule there. I mean, that's a physical and emotional pounding that you're going to take over that stretch.
Well,
So, how do you as a coaching staff or whatever like that, how are you going to get your team, ready to do that? Is it substitutions or what?
Yeah, so we have a thing we do we call it Competition Tuesday. We've been doing this since I've been here. Every Tuesday we come out and we're always looking for depth. We have about 65 kids, on our between varsity and JV together.
That's good numbers.
Yeah, we're a 4A school of like 400 kids, so that's pretty good. And so we're always looking for someone, to step up, to come in there and to show us something, and it's happened in the past. We have a couple of defensive backs that have kind of reacted to it, a lineman here or there. So we and we'll prepare a team. We won't we have full pads on this day. We'll go uppers on the other 2 days so that we're fresh and and we're ready. But there really is it's kind of harder for us to prepare for something we haven't really done yet. We haven't played this kind of schedule at this school since we had 1,500, 2,000 boys here.
Right.
So we're going up to schools at twice our enrollment, 3 times our enrollment. The number 1, number 2, number 3, 3 or 4 ranked teams in the state, and some people are telling me that they're all ranked up there. So we don't look at that. We're looking at, to me, you look at the film, you prepare, you see what you can do, you pick out the dudes they have, say, okay, we can't let this guy, and then we go play. And then the next week we come back and we see, okay, let's watch the film, let's correct our stuff, let's look at their team, let's see what they got, And I think if we do that and teach our kids that process, then nothing will be overwhelming to them. other than what they hear and what they see. I can't really control that.
And playing in such a tough league, and you're right. I mean, you got Prep there, LaSalle, so many great teams from the Catholic League. It's got to really prepare you for, when you do get out of your district and start playing state playoffs.
Yeah. Well, for fortunate enough to get through our, we'll have our 4A playoffs after the season. And if we're
Hmm.
fortunate enough, to make it through there again, obviously one of our goals, then we have thought about that. We as staff and the team, we have talked about that this this will be like the litmus test. This is, I think, one of the best leagues in the state, one of the best leagues around, and we just got to get through it. We got to get through it healthy
Yeah.
and in one piece, because these teams, Roman is big, and we got Judge. Judge is good. They're tough, and
Yeah.
LaSalle is like just LaSalle, and then the
Yeah.
Peppers. We're looking at two of the best schools around. So,
Yeah.
but we're going to take it week to
Week by
week.
week.
And
Yeah.
when we get to that point, though, our kids know that's the task ahead. So, but we're only going to take it, one game at a time, prepare for that game and prepare for that team, and then move on to the next one. And when we get to those teams, we'll go at them the best we can, just like we did last week.
It seems
Absolutely.
like each team in the Catholic League there has some kind of special tradition, that goes along. Judge with the special, like, number on their helmet for the number of guys who,
Yeah.
I got, in the Vietnam War or whatever like that. Are there any kind of special traditions there at your school, that you carry on year after year, with the football program?
Yeah, well, there used to be some, like when we actually play our home games here now at the school, which they didn't. We started about 9 years ago. We used to have what they called the walk up to, up to Upper Darby. Well, I did bring back this year with four helmets. We retired one of our class of '69 guys who played on this '68 Southern Division Championship team, Jim Delaney. So we brought back the Bs and put them on the helmets,
Oh,
and I
neat.
kind of explained the tradition about that, and I think that was one thing, that was one thing that we did, and but there's we're trying to let these kids kind of create some of their own. We have a bunch of kids after the game, they do cartwheels, so that's a tradition they started. Something obviously we didn't do back in the day, but we're really, our tradition is after every game, we kneel down and we say a prayer to Father Bill Atkinson, who right now they're trying to he's on the road to becoming a saint, and so
Wow.
that's, to me, that's our best tradition, is after a game we say a prayer and we thank Father and we pray to Father Bill, and to me that's the best tradition we have as a team.
That's
Wow, really
awesome.
interesting. You got a final question, Dave?
No, I was gonna say, you got Father Judge next,
Mhm.
and I know you don't want to look ahead. Any thoughts on them
Yeah,
going
well,
into that game?
so Father Judge, playing him, I've been coaching I coached at the Prep before I came back to Bonner, and
Hmm.
I just always say, like, you better be prepared. You better buckle up, like, real tight. Frank's a really good coach. He'll have these kids very well prepared. And just watching some of the film of some of the games that they played before. Really good running back, really good quarterback. Our kids up front, like, technically sound. Like, we're going to have to go in, and, like, I just keep telling them, if we play our game, hopefully we'll be okay. But our guys have to be ready, because Judge will fight you from the first minute to the last whistle every time, no matter what. So we have great respect for them as a program, and we'll go up there and hopefully, go 1-0 this week, and then move on to LaSalle, which, I don't want to
Yeah.
think about. I just want to get through this week.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Well,
Well, thank you, Coach.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
thank you.
Coach,
You guys
thanks
have
so
me.
much for being on the show and, kind of having us look behind the curtain there your program, and
Yeah.
congratulations on the big win,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
best of luck the rest of the season.
I appreciate it, and thanks again for all you guys for what you do for high school sports. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you
Okay,
very much. Just go ahead and
thanks.
exit out there,
Have
Coach.
a good
All
day,
right,
Coach.
take care.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
Yep.
care now. Okay, bye-bye. All
All right.
right.
So I
Wow.
guess
Pretty
Joe's
interesting.
next, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty interesting. On each one of those schools in the Philadelphia Catholic League has their
Yeah,
own traditions,
absolutely.
and but that's very interesting how the PIAA, the change in classifications for them bumps them into like having to butt heads with all the big boys there.
Yeah, they kind of, move some teams around and it's just like he said, they're playing programs are two, three times bigger than them, but I think they're going to be up for the challenge and we'll go from there. But I see Joe's working his way on, so could you there, Joe?
Yeah, he's getting ready to get with us there. Looks like he's still muted there, but our buddy Joe Santiliquito joining us. He actually did cover that Roman and a Bonner game.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Here I am.
Joe.
What's up,
So
guys? How
what
you
was your take on that game, Joe? On the Bonner Roman game?
doing? A little bit of a surprise. I thought it'd be a competitive game. We're on the air. I suppose we are.
Yes,
Yep,
we are
yep,
on
yep,
the
yep, we
air.
are.
We're
Okay.
live, baby.
Uh, I was a little bit surprised. I thought it'd be a competitive game. I didn't think Bonner would get out to the kind of lead they did. And Samaj Beals, Roman's very, very capable junior quarterback, brought them back. But Bonner showed some power. They ran a power game. They were strong on both sides of the ball. And the amazing thing is Bonner turned the ball over 4 times in the first half of that game
Yeah.
Yeah.
and still had a pretty good lead. So Jack Muldoon, much to his credit, has done a great job with that program. He's brought it along. And as Dave knows, I'll be at Upper Dublin Saturday night for prep on LaSalle. And then I'll probably be the following week, the following Friday, I'll probably be back at Bonner for Bonner and LaSalle. Because I actually think Bonner can give a few of these teams a game. So we'll see. Bonner, I think, has Judge this weekend. And we all know LaSalle has Roman Catholic. We'll see if well, I don't think I know Bonner's for real.
Mhm.
Roman, I thought was going to be a factor, and I still think they're going to be a factor at 5A.
Yeah.
But they have to get healthy. That was a big deal. They were missing a number of their top guys, but you play the game and you play with the pieces that you have there. And that was, Roman still had Samaj Beals, who is a difference maker. And Samaj, and the thing that's scary is Samaj didn't exactly have his best game, but still Samaj's best game is better than most people's, his subpar games are better than most good games. And he led them back. He made it a very interesting game in the end.
Mhm.
Roman had a chance to go up the field and tie it. But Bonner's defense was pretty good throughout the whole game. And I think the
And they
question
got a big turnover too, didn't they? I mean, a block punt or that as well.
yeah, early in the second half, that changed some things too. But Bonner had a pretty decent lead already prior to the block punt. In the end, the block punt led to what probably meant that 38-30 score. Which in the end, when you look at it, you chalk everything up. That was certainly a huge, huge factor in the game. But at the time it happened, Bonner looked as if they were going to win like 95-0.
Wow.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, again, kudos to Bonner, kudos to Jack Muldoon and what Jack's done with the
He's done a
program,
good job.
and yeah, he has, and just how good they are right now. So, but I still think despite seeing Bonner do as well as it did against Roman. I still think, at least in Delaware County, seeing what I think is the top two teams now in Delaware County, still think Chester at 5A may be the team to beat. I mean, I saw Chester give Imhotep a hell of a scare. And I don't think there's any other running back that even well, there may be a few that may come close to Jabri Wallace-Coleman, but not many. And I don't think Chester's going to have to deal with another Jabri Wallace-Coleman, put it that way. So the shame of it is, too, if Chester had a kicker, that game could have been won by Chester. I mean, they wound up with 18 when they should have had 21. And here's what helps Roman. Roman does have a kicker. This kid, little sophomore, who's done a pretty decent job for them, is pretty capable, and he has a chance to be a difference maker in a game where we've all seen this at the high school level. If a team doesn't have a kicker, before you know it, you're always going for 2-point conversions, and you might be down 2 or 3 points in a crucial game, in a tight game, where just having the kicker makes a difference. And Bonner here at the end was going to try a field goal that was, it just was bungled from every conceivable way. That would have given them a 2-score cushion, but that was flubbed. And like I said, Bonner won the game. Bonner deserved to win the game. Bonner outplayed Roman. But Bonner didn't exactly make things easy on themselves in the end.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess that's a good thing. They're going to learn, obviously, from their. One of the rarities is that they had some mistakes and it didn't cost them. But hopefully that they learn from it, moving forward. And Joe, don't you put together like the Southeast PA top?
I do, yeah,
10 or whatever like that. Talk a little bit about the some of the teams that you've got in your ranking.
Right now I forget.
The last one even.
Let me go and check my own rankings out here.
I didn't mean to just throw that on you there.
We threw you for a curve.
Well, I figured we start with some rankings, and then.
Here's a question.
Sure.
Who in District 12 has kind of been a surprise to you this year?
Yeah, that's a good one. Besides Bonner.
Yeah. See, put you on the spot there.
I'll say, let me go in this context.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go LaSalle only in the context of this. LaSalle is good. LaSalle was supposed to be good. I didn't think they would be this good. I'm expecting competitive games Saturday when LaSalle plays St. Joe's Prep. I have some other people telling me, from some other coaches from in the area, will say they expect Prep to beat them by 35, 40 points.
Wow.
I think
I don't know Prep's that team this year.
Not yet. I think their quarterback is still coming around. He's a sophomore. He's still learning the offense. They're making strides. But I would say LaSalle in how they've beaten teams. They are. But the thing about LaSalle that they're going to have to watch for, and this is why I think Bonner would give them a game, is that LaSalle is more a skill finesse team. And they hit you with some. Brett Gordon is an evil genius, as we all know. They'll hit you with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You're looking. They'll hit you right. I mean, that's and I'm not going to be surprised Saturday night if every freaking stop. Every gadget in the book's going to be taken out. I mean, because that's just Brett. And that's what makes Brett good, and that's what makes Brett Gordon unpredictable. And then you're dealing with Sidwar, the quarterback, who's heading to Rutgers, who's done some growing up quite a bit over the last few years. He's
He's
he,
good.
he is, and he walks into a situation, and that's again as we know at the high school level, the quarterback can make so much of a difference. Roman's banged up, yet Samaj Beals almost single handedly carries them back into at least a tie in that game. When and again, Beals did not even have a game nowhere near the way he's capable of. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go LaSalle in the context of, like I said, they're. I thought they'd be competitive. I didn't think they would be. They would be this good. And I mean, they opened the season with a really nice win against a very good Malvern Prep team, and now you have.
Well, don't forget that they waxed Harrisburg. Actually, the opening week they're like at
Okay.
Harrisburg, 45-7. So, I think that woke up the echoes around the state.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Harrisburg lose a quarterback though? I think they lost a quarterback.
Yeah, they
did.
were kind of
Correct. They're
adjusting.
absolutely
Yeah.
right. Absolutely right. They were basically kind of installing kind of a new offense because of a PIAA ruling
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
quarterback.
and probably
But
something simplified. So they're, I mean, they're a factor. I mean, obviously, Prep's still the team to beat. Um, I know Wood's a bit of a mess. I think they changed their coaches. Coach Armstrong, I
Yeah.
think last week or 2 weeks ago, stepped down.
Yeah, and won their first game after that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so things are falling the way they should fall in District 12. Imhotep is Imhotep again. Like I said, in the past, where we all know there's been a Grand Canyon-esque gap between LaSalle and Prep. I think that gap has been narrowed quite a bit. I'm expecting. I'm hoping for a competitive game Saturday night.
Now, do
and
you
talk
think in this game either team's going to show anything, knowing that 2, 3 weeks down the road, they're going to probably play again?
I think for what these programs are about, I do. I do. This is a
Hmm.
pride game for these two teams. This is the Hatfields and the McCoys, man,
yeah, it
at
is.
the high
Yeah.
school level.
It's going to be
And
a knockdown drag out.
yeah, and these two teams. The other thing too is they're fighting for some seeding, even though again we have an idea that it's going to be these two in the end. But after seeing what Bonner did against Roman, they are in the red division. I'm not saying anybody's unseating St. Joe's Prep anytime soon, but I'm saying that other teams could come and make this interesting. Uh, my question is how physical can LaSalle match or come close to St. Joe's Prep on the physical side. Uh,
Hmm.
Again, where St. LaSalle has one, maybe called 1.5 layers of quality players. We all know St. Joe's Prep has 2 or 3 different layers of quality players that that could turn around and
Hmm.
make something happen. So, like
Yeah,
I
but
said, it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be something there that's going to be interesting to see, and I'm hoping for a competitive game. Again, my heart says that. My hope says that. My head and some other people that I know and highly respect in the area say something completely different.
you have a completely different dynamic there as well. In the one team, I mean, you mentioned them, but ultimately between Imhotep, LaSalle, and St. Joe Prep, there's only one team coming out of there that's moving on to the state tournament.
Yeah,
So talk about how that dynamic is going to
I
work
I,
now with
I think
Imhotep looming.
yeah I think Prep's still going to be the team.
Okay.
Again, like I said, what makes Prep different over LaSalle and Imhotep is they're simply deeper. There's a Zaire Mathis, and there's a Sid War, and there's a Joey O'Brien at LaSalle, and there's Jabri Wallace Coleman. Jabri Wallace Coleman's an interesting thing because he could be, we could see Coach David Imhotep running the hell out of Jabri. Just here you go. We know you know what we're going to do, and we're going to do it anyway. Come and stop us. I did see something also in that Chester Imhotep game, and it was a dreary day, awful day, and Imhotep sophomore quarterback Joey McLeish went out in that game for a time, had some issues. And the thing that was interesting is he and Imhotep was struggling all over the place. I mean, Jabri was being Wallace Coleman was being stopped at the line of scrimmage. Chester was sometimes throwing as many as 8 people at the line of scrimmage, stuffing the line, hitting some problems for Wallace Coleman to break free. And then McLeish came back in the game in the second half and completed a few passes, forced Chester to loosen up a little bit. And then that seemed to open the door for Jabri Wallace Coleman. I mean, we all have an idea. I mean, no one's going to turn around. I don't think anybody's going to change your mind, Bruce, or anybody's going to change your mind, Dave. And no one's going to change my mind. In the end, we all feel it's probably going to be Imhotep out of District 12 pub, and St. Joe's Prep out of, the Catholic League meeting each other. And the thing that's going to make this unique is I don't believe, to my knowledge, those two teams ever played against each other.
Yeah,
I know they've scrimmaged each other in the past. I don't think Prep and Imhotep have ever played against each other.
Wow, that's an interesting statement. And when you think about it, that's probably the case because they've never, I mean, Imhotep's kind of worked their way up from 3A to 4A to 5A now to 6A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And again, there's I'm not going to say there's anybody on the level of Zaire Mathis at St. Joe's Prep. We know Max Roy is coming back from an injury. Max Roy is certainly of a quality of a Zaire Mathis. But there's players on St. Joe's Prep that are close to Zaire Mathis. There is no one on Prep that's Jabri Wallace Coleman. But they have a number of backs, 2 or 3 backs. I mean, the West kid's going to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So they have a number of players on their team that are similar to Jabri Wallace Coleman. What's going to make Saturday night interesting is that where St. Joe's Prep's quarterback, and help me out here, it's Charlie. I forget Charlie's last name. I think it might be Charlie Falk, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what is it? Foulke.
Charlie Falk, who's got a number of offers from different schools. And he looks the part right now, and he showed some poise in their season opener that they lost. But he's been a little bit rocky here and there, whereas Sidwarn, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Sal's starting quarterback, has played, in my opinion, very well. And again, that is and again, here's the other factor where you lean towards LaSalle a little bit, is that Joey McLeish is a sophomore, is coming along, and Falk, who's a sophomore prep, is coming along. They are not right now. They are not Gavin Sidwarn. They are not him. Out of the 3 of them, he's the better quarterback. He's the best quarterback right now out of all 3 of them. And again, that is that becomes a factor because at the high school level, again, your quarterback, who, by the way, this is where he becomes more of an issue. Sidward becomes a bigger issue in the fact that Brett Gordon, gives him the freedom to change the plays at the line of scrimmage. And not too many high school quarterbacks have that type of freedom. And again, when you're looking over and he's able to look at the field and break the field down. And again, I've seen Gavin almost like literally grow up before my eyes. When you have a quarterback that has that kind of talent and is able to slow the game down and sees the field that well, that's a problem for any team. And that's an X factor. So there's a lot of little X factors. When you're coming down to brute strength, power, when you're coming down to layers upon waves of brute strength and power, then you have St. Joe's Prep, which doesn't exactly have those, one sterling star. Obviously Marvin Harrison is in the NFL now. Samaj Jones is playing for the University of Cincinnati, but they have very, very good players. And you have young players like Jet Harrison, Marvin's younger brother, who's already 6'4" and a freshman. So you have players like this showing, yeah, it's scary. It is scary. Who are showing glimpses of being pretty good, but have not put together the whole package. And that's going to come in time. That's going to come with physical maturity. That comes with mental maturity. That comes again with getting your varsity reps in against high-level varsity players. In many cases, preps inter-squad scrimmages are more impactful than I think 80% of the games they play. So they're sharpening. What's the saying? Steel sharpens steel. They're sharpening their
iron
tools.
Sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, they're sharpening their own tools every time they practice. So these guys are maturing, and it's going to be a matter of when they mature, not if they mature. Prep has a program and a system from Gil Brooks, passed along to Gabe Infante, now since passed along to Tim Roken. That is tried and tested, and passed. Obviously, they've been to all 8 state 6A championships. I don't see anyone getting in their way, getting to a 9th straight state title game, 6A title game. But it's going to depend again on how quickly Falk matures, and how quickly maybe some of that side of the defensive side begins to shore up a little bit. I saw Anthony Saka come on in the second half of their opener. And there's some other pieces here and there on that defense that are still kind of, I think, feeling their way. So Saturday is going to tell a hell of a lot for both LaSalle and St. Joe's Prep. But all 3 teams have an argument. And it just goes to, the bottom line is it's still going to have to go through Prep because they just simply have more talent and deeper talent than anyone in this area, anyone in the state.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Joe, nobody knows Prep and nobody knows District 12 better than you, even District 1. Any District 1 teams, obviously CB South has had, a good
again.
run of it so far.
The surprise there is North Penn. Now, Dick Beck always does a great job, but the last couple of years they've been a little bit down. But this is a nice team. Again, it's a typical Dick Beck type of team. They run the ball. They play sound defense. They play a ball control type offense, which Dick's going to know if he's going to reach that higher level, and it's going to be whether it's going to be LaSalle or St. Joe's Prep or Imhotep in the end. He's going to have to keep that ball and play a ball possession type offense to keep Prep's offense off the board. But right now they look good. And speaking of which, there's a huge game there that we can't overlook, and that's CB South and North Penn this Friday night.
That's actually in our down the road. That's one of our games, one of our top games that we've got listed. Toward the end of the broadcast, we'll go through them and whatever like that. But North Penn, obviously, having a great year. Any other District 1 teams that have struck your fancy? And besides Chester, obviously,
Strathaven.
But I thought with those 2 running backs coming back, and the system that Clancy has, the legendary Kevin Clancy, the Hall of Fame legendary Kevin Clancy has, and Strathaven is not going to change. That's not. I know, everyone knows what Kevin's going to run. The little man on the moon knows. But you can't stop that, because when you run it well. It's almost like the Packer sweep of the legendary, Vince Lombardi era. We knew what the Packers were going to do. We couldn't stop it because they execute. They come in, they seal block, they open up doors here, they open up doors there. They set things up in the way they move the ball. James Fisher is as good a tailback in this area as anyone. Not exactly the bulk of a Jabri Wallace Coleman, but he opened up some interesting holes and with Garnet Valley. So I and now with Chester and its Del Valle League schedule, no one's going to cover. No one's going to turn around and stop Chester. Imhotep
Yeah.
is in its club schedule. No one's going to stop them. Um, North Penn obviously has CB South this weekend, this Friday night, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Um, but as I look over the grander scheme, looking at this thing from a macro level, Strathaven still has some tests ahead. I believe, yeah, I think they still have Springfield ahead, and Springfield's pretty good. So
Any District 1 6A or 5A team is still in the middle of a gigantic minefield right now, which is their regular
Yeah.
season.
oh yeah, yeah.
So, but anyway, all right, Joe. I tell you what, it's good to see you again, my friend. Getting
Yeah,
the
good to
getting
see
the
you guys.
landscape.
Good to see you
You-
guys. Yeah. I apologize. I gotta get ready. I gotta do my other world of
Mr. Boxing Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that may, and Dave knows this, that may change. I know we're public here, but I want to. Well, the boxing world knows, but we may be under new management. We'll say.
Wow.
Ring Magazine may be under new management,
Wow.
which has me on my little tippy toes here.
All
So,
right.
but hopefully, a couple weeks from now, guys, we'll check back and we'll see where things head as the
Absolutely.
as things tighten up a little bit.
I tell you what, Joe. Pleasure to see you again, my friend.
Good seeing
Okay,
you.
guys.
All
Okay,
right,
guys.
we'll see you. All right, just exit out there, Chief.
Take it easy, buddy.
See you,
Okay.
Joe. All right,
I was
always
gonna-
good to see Joe, and
Yeah.
I mean, he can give. If there's anybody that can give you the lay of the land, the District 12 and District 1, it's Joe Santiliquito.
Yeah, I was gonna tell him, say hi to your buddy Carson Wentz, but he might be laughing about that right now.
Yeah, he might be.
He might.
He
He
might be.
might.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this party started here, Dave.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Joe's
you
a
know,
little long wind.
that's all. Well, look, we knew what we were
It's all
getting
good.
into, didn't we? It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all
I
good.
think
So,
I think Bob Long would argue about LaSalle. So
well, right. And look, I'm sure that we're going to have time. And look, it still comes down to the fact that when they play in November is when it really matters.
yeah,
It's just that
absolutely.
this year you've got a round robin when you throw
Yeah.
Imhotep in there between those three teams, right?
Absolutely. Because hey, listen, if it comes down to Prep LaSalle for the Catholic League, it's going to be a hard hitting affair. And then, the winner, you're going to get a team, Emotep, that probably rested a lot of their starters in that game prior. So,
Yeah.
so it'll be interesting to see.
And interesting to see where the games last week that we had highlighted. That Central York Dallas Town game. I
Wow.
mean, it came basically Central York went for two and got it.
Yeah.
What a gutsy move by Jerry Yonchuk and a big win. I mean, over an undefeated Dallas Town team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in overtime, Tyler Frey had back-to-back runs, got the 2-yard touchdown, and then they get the 2-point conversion. Probably star of the game was Brooklyn Nace, Central York's quarterback. I think it was over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. But, you got to give Central York a lot of credit to go to Dallastown and pull off that 28-27 overtime win. Great win.
Yeah, it was a great win. And look, big that's a big conference game there in section 1 of York Adams there. Schuylkill Haven, another big
Oof.
win for Coach Farr, this time taking out Williams Valley.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 2-point game late in the third quarter, and the Hurricanes, they just settle down and do what they do best, and that's run the ball. And the last drive, 19 plays, goes 80 yards. It took 10 minutes, over 10 minutes off the clock. and they extend their lead, and whew, I mean, this team is this
Yeah.
they're tough to stop running, and their star running back over 300 yards rushing. They're going to be a force when it comes to, districts down the road.
Yeah, Downingtown West held that vaunted Westchester Ruston offense to less than 100 yards rushing. It was a big defensive battle, but the Whippets come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, a 14-7 win, battle of unbeatens. You have West, a 6A team, Ruston, a 5A team. And, the story was Downington West defense. They did a really good job holding that Knights rushing attack. They held them to under 100 yards rushing in that game. I think they only averaged, I think I saw somewhere a little over 2 yards a carry. And that really was the story of the game.
Danville. I mean, come on.
Oof.
They keep on rolling. But also the one thing that I saw about this game is, I think Coach Roth there, I think he got a kind of dose of reality here that he's going to have a struggle the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, Danville, they are what they are. They can run the ball, they can pass the ball, they have a great defense. They could beat you so many ways, special teams. And, they showed it all in that game and routed Southern Columbia. And listen, I know Southern, they're 3-3. Couple years ago they had three losses and then had that win streak all the way to states and won a state title, but this year it has been a little struggle, and it'll be interesting to see. I think the story for Southern Columbia will be in districts, and if they happen to get past there in states. Could they make another run? We'll see. But this Danville game or team is there for real, and they got a big game next week, which we'll touch on a little bit later against Mount Carmel.
Bonner, obviously, we were talking Joe, we talked at length about this game, and obviously had Coach Muldoon on, and I tell you what, a pretty special, and not that, quite honestly, that this program didn't know that Bonner was as good as they are, but maybe we really didn't realize. I mean, we all had them ranked number one or number three, going into last week, but they really took it to Roman physically.
Yeah, I mean, I have them number one in my mid-school rankings from, pretty much the get-go. And yeah, I like Bonner. They're a fun team to watch. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, they're physical, and they need to be physical in this league. They still got, well, Father Judge, they have Cardinal O'Hara, and then they have the two big boys,
That's
LaSalle and
incredible.
Prep.
That
And like Coach said, it's about, I think, the regular season coming out healthy to go into districts and possibly a state run, and when you play in that type of league you're going to get banged up, so we'll see what happens in the next 3-4 weeks.
we sure will. Really, the Catholic League schedule doesn't really start until October every year. I mean, they just kind of play some football games in September, but it really kicks in
Yeah.
October. All right, well, let's talk about our rankings since we've kind of touched on it here. We'll start with the 1A, 2A power rankings. Between you and I and Bob, we really have all five teams. They're just shuffled a little bit differently around there. Troy and Riverside, everybody's favorites there. But that seems to be the usual suspects, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, listen, we're, you know, now halfway through the season, and these five teams have kind of been in this top five for most of the year. And these are the five teams in double A, single A that keep an eye on that could make a little noise this year.
Yeah, they'll make a lot of noise, is what they will. And 3A, 4A, I I keep Danville at the top. I mean, you and
You
Bob,
can't,
with Bonner, um, and this is where there's one that there's a bit of disagreement between us. I've got Bonner as third, not because for any other fault that Danville and Twin Valley are, undefeated. Twin Valley, the number one team in the state in 4A, ranked by Penn Live.
yeah,
But you've got Bonner one, Danville, PJP, Twin Valley, Northwest Lehigh, and then Bob and I've got Wyomissing in there, but and Bob's got Danville, fifth there. So, a little bit
yeah.
of disagreement here.
Yeah, I mean, for me with Twin Valley, it's just those three teams above them have been winning. And that's why they haven't really moved up much in the rankings there. But what I've been consistent is Bonner and Danville. And
Mhm.
listen, 4A, 3A, they're to me right now the two teams that I would have on top in 4A, 3A. But again, just because you're always on top doesn't mean you'll
Yeah.
finish on top. So these, listen, these are all good programs. I mean, I have Wyomissing, but they're just outside my top five. I think when districts come and then states, you know what? I always say rankings are nice. Don't worry about who's number one now.
Yeah,
Worry
right.
about it week 16.
Yeah, right. That's totally agree there. And 5A, 6A, um, interesting. I mean, we just went through the fact that the number one and number two teams are playing one another this week. Most likely, unless LaSalle wins, they'll still probably be 1 and 2 next week. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, arguably these are, the two top 6A programs in the state. I'm sure there's some Western teams out there might argue and some other districts, but right now, you would have to say that. And listen, MOTEPS is sitting there waiting, because they know eventually they're going to either play LaSalle or Prep. CB South, out of District 1, Downington West, they're going to have their district playoffs that's going to go all the way to the East final. And then, they're probably going to play one of those three teams for the right to go to Cumberland Valley. So it's going to be interesting how it shakes up. But I'll just say this, in the past and lately, and especially the 6A bracket in District 1, it always seems there's that 14th seed, 15th seed that knocks a
It
team
spoils
off.
the
And
party,
and
man.
and, and it happens almost every year, and just not one, two times, like, more than that. So there's no guarantee. But it is going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm just from my perspective, I took it as is obviously the District 12 being, the best two teams coming out of there, and taking a look at, the other team. I mean, Freedom, we had the coach on,
Yep.
last
Jason
week,
Ritter.
and
Yeah.
didn't get a lot of love from everybody other than me. But and the same thing, CD
Well,
East is an
he
undefeated Mid-Penn Commonwealth leader. I mean, it's really tough out there in 6A this year.
Yeah, it is. And Freedom's outside my top five. And they've pretty well established that they're the top team in 6A in District 11. But looming down the road for them is two teams that I think have been a little surprised in how well they're playing. That's Liberty and Easton.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get easy for Freedom down the road. And I think that District 11 6A bracket is going to be very competitive. And I wouldn't be shocked if we have a upset, if you call it upset, when it comes to districts this year in 11.
In District 3, I mean, Manheim Township's undefeated right now as well. I mean,
Yeah,
who obviously CD East would have to, Manheim Township would be my number 6 team, as well. So I mean, some really good teams out there. I mean, just between the 3A, 4A, and 5A, 6A rankings, I mean, just some powerhouse teams out there.
yeah, absolutely.
So we had some special records and milestones.
Yeah,
Obviously, the big one there, Stone Saunders breaking Alex Irby's all-time touchdown passing mark in the
yeah.
state last week, Dave.
Yeah, Irby held the record for 176. I think we all knew that, Stone was gonna, challenge some of these records, and he did. He went over 176 touchdown passes and counting. And I don't think this will be the last record he breaks.
And Octavara's Austin Kurtz, 12 tackles, now holds the school career total tackles list. Don't say that we don't give the defense love, and especially
Yeah.
Octavara.
Yeah, and he has 191 now. He broke Mike Trainer's 2021 record, and I look for him to get over that 200 mark in his career, which is incredible number.
And Central Dauphin East's Leon Parsons
Yeah.
breaking single game rushing mark.
Yeah, a guy who I think he's still in the NFL, Chase Edmonds.
Yeah,
Uh, he rushed for I think it was 315
15
yards.
yards. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So breaking the record. So my hat off to him. What a performance. I know he's been having a big year, just not in that game. He's really been carrying Central Dauphin East this year.
Eli Zimmerman for Northwest Lehigh setting a single game rushing mark at 271. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he broke Coach's brother's record, Brett Snyder, 1995 record that Brett had 266 yards. And I tell you what, Eli Zimmerman, he might get my vote for small school in District 11, uh, player of the year. He's up there for he's got to be one of three players that I think are going to be picked for that.
And Eli Butler for a Warrior Run now, the single game rushing leader with 302 yards.
Yeah, in the previous record, 251, 1992 by Joey Hill. So hats off. He shattered that record.
New Oxford Brady Miller, 54-yard field goal last week.
So what's interesting about this, coach just sent me some stuff today. So he's now tied seventh all time for the farthest made field goal. And I think he tied the county record of 54 yards, but that's an impressive kick. He's, I think the first kicker in Eastern PA to kick a field goal over 50 yards this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're giving love to everybody: quarterbacks, linebackers, running backs, and kickers, and the special records and milestones. And then top performers, I guess, added to the list right now, Matt Bodner again.
Yeah, I mean 419-yard performance. He has the top performance week one, his first start, 604 yards. Coach sent me his stats. He's over 2,000 yards passing already.
Oh my
So
God.
he's putting up incredible numbers this year.
So, to refresh everybody here, Dave, what needs to have happen, for the players to get on these top performers lists?
Yeah, so for passing, it's 225 yards or more. So it is a weekly list that I put out. So if you go on the site on the main page, you'll see top performers. Just click on it and you could scroll down and look at all the categories. And if you meet that criteria, we'll add you to the list. But I listen, I just updated it like 2 hours ago. So I update it from basically Saturday up until Friday this week. So
Well,
and I'm getting stuff from other weeks that, hey,
sure.
can we add that we missed? And I do.
Yeah.
So and that's what's nice. You could go back and look at all the weeks and see what these young men have done.
And as far as rushing goes, Liam Taylor from Haverford, just remember that name because you're going to see it again.
Yes, and 337-yard performance by him. And we talked about Schuylkill Haven's running back. He 333 yards rushing, makes top five. Um, Impressive.
And the only, like I said, the only guy who's on both lists there, yeah, it's pretty
Liam.
crazy. Just Liam.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is
That's pretty
impressive.
impressive when you're on the top performers for the season in both rushing and receiving.
Yeah, for top five, very impressive. He obviously he could do it both ways. He could catch and he could run.
Interception return, touchdown. I don't think we had any changes there
No, no,
from
all the same.
last week there, but still a 100-yard return is nothing to
Nah,
Dontavius Luckett there from Bishop McDevitt. That's going to be hard to beat.
that is gonna be hard to
Now,
beat.
and there's Brady Miller on top of field goals with 54 yards.
Yeah, I mean the nearest ones, obviously three guys kicked 49. But Will Buck, a tremendous kicker out of Emmaus, out of District 11, 44 yards. And then Dallas's kicker kicked a 41-yarder. I mean, he's been on this list several times, last year, this year, and you start seeing, some of these guys, but the Dallas kicker, I mean, he's kicked a 47-yarder and now a 41-yarder. So impressive.
All right. Well, some great performances, not only record breaking, but
Yeah, a
also,
lot of them.
leading a lot of them here. And now really, really five top games to take a look at in the Eastern half. Probably one of the top games, in District 3 this week. Manheim Township is at Cedar Crest. This is going to go a long way in determining the Lancaster Lebanon League Section 1 champion.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like Manheim Township in this one. Their quarterback, Carson Weiser, I think he's over 1,000 yards now passing. I look for him to have a big game, but their running attack, Clancy's had a big year for Manheim Township, 1,000 yards. And I kind of like Manheim Township in this one. But what's your thoughts on Cedar Crest?
Cedar Crest, I had them, I saw them, in person broadcast one of their games. They played very well against Wilson just a couple of weeks ago. And I like their physicality. They've got a really good running game. But I think Manheim Township going to be, too much for Cedar Crest.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree with that.
so Bethlehem Catholic and Freedom, when these two get together, I mean, just throw out the records, right?
Yeah, and I think Becca's a little banged up right now, and this is gonna be a tough challenge for them. I just think right now Freedom is just clicking on all cylinders. Chase Walker, their quarterback, over 1,200 yards passing now, 13 touchdowns. Their running backs over 700. And listen, they have three receivers, 13 catches or more, over 200 yards to, almost 400 yards. So they really spread the offense around. And, I kind of like Freedom to win this one and win it pretty handily.
Yeah, I like Freedom in this game as well. North Penn and CB South. Joe alluded on the fact North Penn being one of the teams in District 1 that, he's been a little bit surprised about. Um, and, look, these are teams that, quite honestly, they're playing now. It really matters when they play in November. But, still, this is for bragging rights. And this is going to be a knockdown drag out for sure, Dave, right?
Yeah, I kind of favorite North Penn slightly. I mean, we saw their kickers on our top performer list. If it comes down to kicking, you have to give North Penn that slight edge. But CB West or CB South has had a great year, led by Owen Pinkerton. He's thrown for over 700 yards. He's rushed for over 650. So the kid could beat you throwing the ball, running the ball. Um, North Penn's gonna have to find a way to slow Owen down, in this game. But I think this one could be a defensive battle, and maybe turnovers could be key in this game.
Yeah, just like with just about every game there. And boy, this Mount Carmel and Danville game, this is really for, supremacy there in District 4.
Yeah, I mean, with Mount Carmel moving up to 3A and they came off with a impressive win against Hughesville, and obviously we know what Danville did to Southern Columbia. Um a lot of balance on both teams. I think this one could be a track meet. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I kind of favor Danville a little bit in this game. I just think they have a little too much weapons, for Mount Carmel, but it's going to be a great game to watch, I'll tell you that.
And the game that we touched on, obviously, with Mr. Santiliquito, St. Joe Prep, and it says at LaSalle College, but they're playing at, like, I think the University of Pennsylvania, where they always play at.
No,
And
it's actually Upper Dublin this year.
Upper Dublin. Okay, all right.
Yep, yep.
All right.
So,
Well, but I stand corrected. But what I don't stand corrected on is the fact that, these two teams, regardless of the fact that ultimately there's going to be a win and go home game in
yeah.
November, every time that they play one another, it's for all the marbles. But there's nothing left in the tank when these two teams are done. And when you really get in between the ropes, and obviously with our buddy, Bob Long,
Hmm.
who's involved, with LaSalle and
Yeah.
broadcasting the games or whatever like that. I mean, you come to learn the fact that this means that this goes way beyond just a football game.
Yeah, and I'm still interested to see will any both teams show everything, knowing that you're probably gonna play again for the District 12 Catholic League title. Maybe Brett shows some wrinkles, that, Prep might think of in the next matchup. Maybe Prep does that. So it's going to be a real interesting chess match. And I right now, listen, I think LaSalle has the edge at quarterback. Gavin's had a big year, almost 1,500 yards passing, 18 touchdowns. And Joe's right, maybe LaSalle's more finesse where, Prep could be a little more physical. But, one of the things that maybe we didn't touch on with Joe is how is Prep's defense gonna slow down this LaSalle offense? So that's one thing to watch in this game. But again, win, lose, or draw, bragging rights for the weekend, but when it's important to win, and that's going to be that Catholic League championship game.
And for me, we had Brett on, for after our first show this year,
Yep.
and we know we've had Tim on the show, and we understand the level of proficiency that St. Joe. Everybody's talking about the talent on the field. The talent that's on that sideline is just as
Yeah.
incredible. And I think that, quite honestly, for the first time in a while, I think that LaSalle does have, is on equal footing or getting close to equal footing from a coaching perspective. I think that's the single biggest thing that is in LaSalle's favor this year is with, the new attitude with the coaching staff. I think that this is really going to be very interesting. I'm really interested as much in the X's and O's and the coaching battle as everybody out there on the field.
Yeah. And listen, I know Joe, in his mind thinks Prep is going to be at Cumberland Valley to, win another state title. But I still think LaSalle and Emotep have something to say about it. And you're right. I think Brett Gordon, I think why LaSalle we knew they were going to be good. I know Joe touched on he didn't realize they were going to be this good so early, but that says a lot about Brett Gordon and his coaching staff. And I think, again, it depends on what goes on in this game and what they show. But I think, you're going to have two good coaching staffs taking a lot out of this, looking for that one little wrinkle that might make a difference the next time. Because, again, it is going to be a battle down the road with those three programs. So I know we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I'm not going too out of the world to say that. You know what I mean? So
No, you're right, and that's unfortunately something that I find that you just can't keep out of your mind is the fact that
yeah.
ultimately, that it does take a little bit of the luster on some of these games, and it's not just St. Joe Prep or LaSalle College. When teams are in the same classification and they play a rivalry game in the middle of the season,
Hmm.
everybody knows ultimately it's the win or go home matchup everybody's concerned about, whether you play for some trophy or, like a bucket or whatever you play for during the season. Ultimately, that final game, that win or go home matchup is really what everybody's caring about. And I think it takes a little bit of luster off of it. But in this particular case with St. Joe Prep and LaSalle College, it can't possibly override the historical matchups that they've had and how important Philadelphia Catholic League championships are to each one of these teams.
Yeah, and don't forget, not too long ago, LaSalle beat Prep in the regular season, and
Yeah,
then Prep returned the favor and went on.
yeah.
Um, so it can be done, but listen, if you're just a fan of high school football, go to this game. You're gonna see tremendous Division I talent on both sides of the ball, great coaching on both sides, and it's going to be a fun game to watch. And
Yeah.
we'll be there covering the game. So I'd say go watch it if you can.
Well, I know that Bob Long Sports will be
Yeah,
carrying the game. Bob will be broadcasting the game. There isn't anybody better broadcasting high school football than our friend Bob Long, and especially on the LaSalle College game, um, as well. So
hmm
just definitely follow Bob Long Sports if you're looking to get the link to
yeah. We'll
watch
put it
that.
on the site
Yep.
actually.
Yeah.
We'll get the information, we'll embed it, and we'll post it on the site so people can watch it and click on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I've been on a couple of these St. Joe Prep LaSalle broadcasts with Bob, and it's pretty intense. I'll tell
Yeah,
you. It's pretty intense and that. But wow, another show in the books, my friend. I mean, my gosh,
yeah. We went to overtime in this one.
well, it's all right. Look, I mean, it's not like if we want to run over, it's not a big deal. I guess
Yeah,
next week we'll probably revisit all of our power rankings again.
yeah.
We should do that. We'll have obviously all of our top performers, the top games, and hopefully some top guests again. It doesn't get any better than Jack Muldoon and Joe
No,
Santiliquito as far as getting up to speed on Philadelphia Catholic League football and District One and everything else, right?
absolutely. And as the playoffs get closer, we'll be like you said, getting more guests. We'll try to maybe get some other reporters all over the state and talk about their districts and stuff. And we'll get you prepared when it comes to playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, it's always a lot of fun doing the show. Listen, we thank you to all of our fans who watch the show. We have a pretty loyal following, and that I get a lot of feedback during the week. Remember, I'm at Badgley Bruce and Dave Mika, probably at Eastern P Football.
Yeah, EPA football. Yep.
EPA football on
Yep.
Twitter. And then obviously you can get a hold of us through the website and what have you. Thursday night, I'll be broadcasting Twin Valley and Donegal. And then Friday, I've got, um, let's see, who do I have Friday? Lower Dauphin and Palmyra on
Wow.
Friday. Then I'll be up at State College. I failed to talk about the Penn State result there, but Penn State plays UCLA this week. They played very well in a win over
Yeah.
Illinois. I thought it was maybe one of the best coach team games I've seen in a long time. James Franklin against Brett Bielema. That was a pretty special game there up at Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I saw the results and Penn State wins and they got some big games coming up down the road.
Yeah, yeah, they really do. It really starts to crescendo, as the season goes on here, and I think that the inclusion of these, formerly packed or these West Coast teams into the Big Ten here, totally fascinating dynamic. And UCLA comes calling this Saturday to State College. That's a noon kick. I'll be up there providing live reports and in-game pictures, highlights, and a summary article on Saturday as well. And then, I mean, Dave, the amount of games that you're covering each and every week on EasternPAFootball.com just grows and grows and grows. And I love the gentlemen that are covering the games for EasternPAFootball.com this year. Just really spectacular guys like Joe and Owen McHugh and Andy Herr. I mean, these guys know it all.
Yeah, I mean, we have a good staff all over, Eastern PA, and this week, some of the games, we got the Mount Carmel Danville game, we got North Penn, CB South, we have Manheim Township, Cedar Crest, Andy's doing that. Joe's doing the Prep LaSalle game. I have Matt Hagee doing the Springfield Delco, Hafford High, and I'm still waiting on some of the other reporters, but we have
You
games
got all
all
the big ones
over.
covered.
Yeah, for the most we do. Yep.
Well, that's great. All right, my friend. Well, listen, I think that's a wrap. So for my buddy Dave Mika, hey, I'm Bruce Badgley. Thanks for joining us here on the Fresh Set of Downs podcast presented by EasternPAFootball.com. We're here every Tuesday live at 7:30 if you want to chat with us live, become part of the program, but always on demand on YouTube. So until next week, take care and drive safely.